What is going on, everyone? I hope you are all having a fantastic day. So, as many of you know, I am a college student, or I was a college student, because by the time you're watching this, I have officially graduated. And while I know this is a very different type of video than what we usually talk about here on the channel, today I want to walk you through my entire process that I used to earn 2 separate bachelor's degrees in just 3 years. So whether you are thinking about going to college, currently in college yourself, or maybe you're just curious how I was able to pull this off, let's walk through 5 tips that will allow you to get a huge return on your investment in education so that you can maximize your earning potential and start going after your financial goals as quickly as possible. All right, let's jump right into it. So for anyone who's curious, I double majored in business management and finance, and I also earned minors in accounting, business and technical writing, and business geographic information systems. And I finished in exactly 3 academic years or 6 semesters. Very exciting, I know. But the reason I tell you this is actually because of my first tip to you, and that would be to plan ahead. Not only do you have to plan out your courses very carefully, which we'll talk more about in a second, but if you specifically want to try to double major, then you want to choose very carefully what programs you decide to go after. For example, if you want to major in finance and also major in music education, then that's cool, but those are 2 very different things, and as a result, a lot of the required courses are not going to overlap with each other. While I did take endless classes and overload credits for 3 years straight, there's absolutely no way that I would have been able to earn both degrees and graduate early if it wasn't for the fact that a lot of the classes that were required with each major overlapped with each other, meaning one course may have counted for 2, 3, or even 4 different requirements. And that brings me to the second point when I say plan ahead, and that is you obviously have to plan out your courses very carefully. This sort of thing is going to vary drastically based on your university and field of study, but most of the time, the higher level courses are going to have some kind of prerequisite, and sometimes they might have multiple prerequisite courses. And planning those things out very carefully is really important so that you have the time and are able to take those higher level courses in a timely fashion. For example, if you wait until your 3rd year to start taking some of those prerequisite courses, then it's going to be next to impossible for you to graduate early if there's other required courses that you need to take after those prerequisites. Literally, when it came time to schedule each semester, I had spreadsheet upon spreadsheet of every single major and minor, as well as a ton of carefully highlighted documents that outlined each degree program that I was trying to earn. And I very carefully marked what courses had prerequisites and what overlapped with each other so that I could plan everything out and didn't ever take a class that wasn't going to count for multiple different requirements. Now, I know that that probably sounds like a lot of work, and it absolutely is, but remember, in my case, I was trying to double major and graduate early, but maybe you're just trying to earn 2 degrees or an extra minor, or maybe you're trying to graduate early with 1 degree. So depending on what you're trying to achieve, it might not be as complicated. But regardless of what your goal is, you absolutely need to plan ahead. And don't always take the classes that are recommended to you. Remember, a college is a business, and the longer you stay there, the more money they can take from you. So if your advisor says take these 5 classes, then that's a good place to start, but you definitely want to look over everything and make sure that you are optimizing your time and getting out as quickly as possible if that's what you want to try to do. Alright, that brings us to the second tip, which is probably the most obvious one, and that would be taking classes outside of the regular fall and spring semesters. And in the case of most colleges, that means taking classes in the winter and summer terms. So again, in my case, because I had a very lofty goal for myself, that meant I had to take winter and summer courses nonstop for 3 years on top of the regular fall and spring semesters as well. But look very carefully at your degree program, because even just taking 1 or 2 summer or winter classes throughout your time in school could be all that is necessary to graduate a full semester early, and that could save you thousands and thousands of dollars. And depending on where you live and where your school is located, oftentimes you can also take cheaper winter or summer courses at a local community college and then transfer those credits to your main school, and that is going to make it a lot more convenient for you depending on where you live, and it's going to save you a ton of money in the long run. Now, that segues perfectly into the third tip, which is taking overload credits. Again, this one varies depending on what you are studying and where you go to school, because the way that credits work with certain degree programs can oftentimes look very different. But for most students, you're probably looking at 15 credits per semester, which would break down to 5 classes, since each class is usually worth 3 credits. But if you're trying to graduate early or earn multiple degrees or minors, then you're probably going to have to take more than 15 credits each semester. In my case, I took 18 credits every single semester, and I actually had one semester where I took 21 credits, which I would not recommend. Alright, so those last 2 tips are pretty obvious, but this 4th tip is another one that helped me out a lot, and is definitely the reason why I was able to pull this off, and that is testing out of certain classes, especially Gen Eds. Now, testing out of a course can come in all sorts of forms, including AP testing in high school, dual enrollment classes that you were to take in high school, or in my case, taking a placement test at the university when I first got there as a freshman, and this allowed me to bypass some of those lower level courses. Most universities have something like this, but oftentimes when you first come to campus, you'll take a very basic math and writing course, or maybe some other subjects depending on what you were studying, and that will help your school and your advisors place you in the right spot with your general education courses. For example, you might have to take a simple Math 101 course, but if you learned about all of that stuff in high school and you're really good at math, then you can take the placement test and they might move you into a higher level course and skip those lower requirements. So regardless of whether you're taking dual enrollment credits while you're still in high school, testing out of things with AP tests or similar exams, or testing out of them through placement tests in your college, this is a fantastic way to bypass some of those general education courses and jump ahead in your degree program. Now, that being said, testing out of a course does not typically mean that you just don't have to take that class. And what I mean by this is you might test out of Math 101 like we talked about earlier, but at some point in your studies, you probably will have to fill that class void with some other class, and this usually comes in the form of what's called a free credit. And no, not free like you don't have to pay for it, free in the sense that you can basically take whatever you want. A lot of times students will take these free credits and just use them towards a really easy, fun course that they can easily get an A in, but what I suggest and what I did personally is actually using those credits towards another degree program or minor, and that's exactly how I was able to add 3 additional minors and a second major. I tested out of a lot of the general education courses and I brought in a few different AP credits. So while I didn't necessarily have to take those lower level courses, I did still have to fill those credits since most schools require you to have at least 120 credits in total in order to graduate. So I know this is probably getting a little bit confusing, but long story short, testing out of classes, however you do that, is going to save you a lot of time in those gen ed classes because you can either jump ahead in your degree program or add another major or minor and start working towards that. And that actually brings me to another point that I do want to make very, very clear, and that is I am by no means some crazy genius by any stretch of the imagination. I know this is a lot of information that I'm throwing at you, and saying things like just take extra courses and test out of classes is a bit insensitive on my part, but I understand that it's not always that easy. But I want to make it clear that I am very much an average student, and I assure you that if I can do this, you absolutely can do this too, because I'm just a regular student and all I did was plan out very, very carefully, and then I worked really hard for 3 straight years, and those are 2 things that pretty much anyone can do. Alright, so that brings me to my last tip that definitely played a key role in my plan, and that is there is an element of luck involved in this sort of thing, and you have got to have contacts. Not those contacts, these contacts. You can plan ahead all you want and have every spreadsheet in the world, but there were times where I had to personally reach out to a professor to get into a class that was otherwise filled, or have long meetings with my advisor in order to get certain credits transferred over to my degree program. And all it would have taken was one no to completely derail my entire plan. So maintaining those relationships with your professors and your advisors is really, really important, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who hold the power. So set a lofty goal for yourself, whether that be to graduate early, earn an extra major or a minor, or maybe a combination of things. But don't let it consume you too much, because at the end of the day, you do still want to enjoy your college experience. And that brings me to my last thing that I want to say as sort of a bonus tip, and that is this sort of thing is not for everyone. If you just want to go to school, take your 15 credits each semester, and get your 1 degree after 4 years, then that is completely fine, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I personally felt like graduating early would help me save some money, which it absolutely will, and I thought that earning 2 degrees would help increase my earning potential. But I'd be lying if I said that I didn't feel really sad that I'm missing out on an entire year of my college experience. But again, that was my personal choice, so just think through all of this very carefully, and don't just try to sprint to the finish line just for the sake of getting there as quickly as possible. because take it from me that you're probably not going to get as much out of the entire college experience if your strategy is just to get out as quickly as possible and collect as many expensive pieces of paper as you can along the way. That being said, I do feel like it was the right move for me. So regardless of whether you're trying to graduate early, earn an extra degree, or something in between, I would love to hear what your college game plan is and what majors and minors you are interested in studying. Again, I know this is a very different video than what I usually make here on the channel, but it is something that I really thought was interesting and that you would benefit from. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, and I would love to chat with you more about this. As always, if you did get value out of this content and you want to help support me, it would mean a lot to me if you would hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who you think would get value out of this content as well. And of course, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to watch my video. I really do appreciate that. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.